And welcome to another episode of Faith Features. Sports is one of the things that we have had to literally put on the sidelines for several weeks. But one Christian organization is not letting that happen. They are doing whatever they can online and through many other means to stay connected with the community. And the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, the upstate New York area director, David Parks, joins us via Skype. Thank you for joining us on Faith Features, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Rich.
So for those that are not familiar with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, or it's been some time, give us a quick vision and mission of what the organization is doing.
Yeah, it's a mission that I think resonates with many people in our world today, given that even though, as you said, sports are sidelined, sports are near and dear to our hearts here in the world, in America. We desire to lead every coach and athlete into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ and his church. That's the heart of FCA. We do that in various ways, but essentially the main focus and strategy of FCA to advance the gospel through its mission is by ministering to the hearts of coaches. We really say we try to minister to and then through coaches, leveraging the influence that they have in our world today to advance the gospel, not only in their own lives, but also those that they influence in their communities.
So Fellowship of Christian Athletes developed something really cool on YouTube on Wednesday afternoons, and I love the idea of this. It's called the Huddle Up. Tell us a little bit more about that, and if there's any special guests coming up during the month of May that people would want to know about.
Yeah, Huddle Up is, I think it's kind of interesting, God's timing on all this. It's pretty incredible, actually. This was actually something that was in the works for, pre-COVID-19. And we weren't sure at that, at the beginning of the year, like many people, that our lives would just change dramatically in the span of just a few days at the beginning of March here in America. And, so FCA had been planning this opportunity for professional athletes, professional coaches to have a space that was available on a global level. So for years, our FCA mission has desired to have a discipleship focus. And we all know that as members of a church community, or those of us that follow Christ, you can probably think of an individual or maybe a small group of individuals that have had a big impact on your relationship with God. Communities in a small huddle, if you will, also using the sports term of a huddle, to get together to talk about their faith and talk about real life issues in the context of sports and how that affects us all. So we, in the absence of being able to meet, FCA organizationally wanted to create a space where these athletes, as they're sidelined right now too, desire community and want to have a space to encourage other athletes and coaches that are in the world today. We just developed a weekly show. It's available on YouTube. It's free. Anybody can jump in and join, and you can listen to just how athletes and coaches are experiencing not only COVID and with their families, but their emotional and spiritual journeys too that are being affected by this pandemic. So it's been really, really incredible to see that. You mentioned guests. We've had some incredible ones already. We had Mo Isom this week. We had the Ertzes from the Philadelphia Eagles in the past weeks too. We've had just some incredible guests. They actually release it at the end of the week, so I actually don't have the schedule for May in front of me. But if you go to the YouTube channel and look back, I think anybody would be very, very excited to see who we've had. I'd encourage you to go back and watch those, and then be ready for what's to come.
So tell me a little bit more about FCA Virtual. This is something that is new and upcoming, and I think it seems to me from what I have researched about it, it has been born out of COVID-19. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. As I kind of shared with you, God's plan of kind of planting this seed of Huddle Up. We didn't just launch this. We did launch it at the beginning of COVID, but it was in the works for months, over a year. And so I would say that much is true of what we're providing for our coaches and athletes in our communities in the virtual realm. We had already, as a ministry, been utilizing tools like this, Rich, Skype, and primarily Zoom for us as a ministry to do small group discipleship, training. And even many of our coaches' huddles that existed around our region here in the Northeast and some across the country had already been doing much of their work via the virtual platforms like this. So when COVID hit and we were, all kind of in shock that we wouldn't be in our public spaces anymore, the groundwork was really already laid. God had prepared us really for this moment in time. And so FCA Virtual was really just a landing page and a concept that was really our ministry, just providing a little bit more context, a little bit more detail around what it looks like to do huddles online, availability of platforms like this, a clearer reality of virtual resources that we've often used in print, perhaps, or hard copy, that were already available online anyway, and just kind of focusing people on where to get those things, but really having our staff and our key leaders be aware that, hey, ministry does not end. In fact, some have said kiddingly, sports, now that sports are out of the way, we can actually, get down to some ministry. We all know that's not our desire, but the reality is true that, for myself included, sports can become a God and can become the focus of our lives instead of our focus being on the one true God. And I think that all of us are experiencing a deeper relationship with him right now as a result of this.
Yeah, and certainly just with everything in life, I virtually sense a bigger appreciation for everything when we are able to get back to sports, when we are able to get back to church and in fellowship together, and when we are able to do those things that we did prior to this. I'm sure that we're going to be changed as a result of this, and I believe, changed for the better. And like with many guests that I've interviewed on Faith Feature, we try to keep that silver lining, that positive in the midst of this pandemic, which has hurt a lot of people. It's claimed a lot of lives. It's claimed a lot of jobs. It's been very difficult for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I say that kiddingly. I mean, the reality is sports have been a huge part of my life. I coached college football for 8 years. If you all of a sudden told me as a senior in my college years, or perhaps a coach, that suddenly I was prepared for a season and then you told me that season wasn't going to happen, I'd be devastated. I mean, all the training that's put into that, my heart breaks for those athletes and coaches that had, right in the middle of their seasons and have lost. They'll never get it back. Those are experiences that are etched in your mind for a lifetime. And so really being there as a ministry is what we wanted to be there for them in this time, to say, yes, this is hard. Yes, we understand. We can identify what it's like to have something taken away that's very precious to us. But in the end, what is most precious, right? What is the most important thing? And it's your faith in God. It's knowing that He is on the throne no matter what happens in this life. And as you said, people are experiencing not only the loss of things that are precious to them from a work and a vocation and a sports standpoint, but lives and families have been really hurt mightily from this. And we've just tried to walk through this with people as best we can.
So for those that want more information about the Upstate New York area chapter and want to connect with you, if there are athletes that are looking for resources and just need some help or maybe even need some encouragement, how can they connect with you and the organization, and how can they find you?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to, I don't know if there's like show notes or anything like that or a link after this, but if you went to fca.org, you can go and find all of the national resources. If you went to nyfca.org, you could find your way. If you're local here in upstate New York, you can find any of our staff people and look for your area and just connect with your local staff. That's the best way. You can email me directly as I oversee the ministry of Upstate New York, dpark davidparks@fca.org. That's the best way to do that. And I would just say, if you're a coach or an athlete and you're struggling right now, like, that's okay. Like, we're here. We get that. And I know a lot of athletes and coaches that, while they are struggling, they found great encouragement during this time. We've been doing our own local sports talk show here on a weekly basis. Today, actually, we're going to interview the Army West Point coach, Jeff Munkin, for their football team. And I've just heard these testimonies for the last 6 or 7 weeks now of coaches saying, this is hard. I am really disappointed about what's happened. However, God is using this in a big time way in their lives and the lives of their athletes. So that encouragement can be there. If you're a person today that's still wondering and still struggling, God, where are you in this? What are you doing? I would say, please reach out to our staff.
And we'll be sure to put your email address and the web link into the descriptions for our videos on YouTube and on Facebook. David Parks, Area Director for Upstate New York Fellowship of Christian Athletes, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us on Faith Feature.
Yeah, appreciate it, Rich. God bless you guys. Thanks for all you guys are doing.
God bless, and thank you so much. And a reminder that on Facebook and on YouTube, you can catch not only this episode, but our library of dozens of episodes of Faith Feature stretching back to March. And as we continue to go through the month of May, and as this pandemic continues, and hopefully things begin to get better through the late spring and into the summer, we will continue to bring you these features as often as possible. I'm Rich Lupia from the Mars Hill Network for Faith Feature, where we bring you hope in the journey.